Okay, we're now live.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome along to tonight's council meeting. This is our ordinary council meeting. We are the rural city of Wangaratta, and we're on our YouTube channel live streaming, and this council meeting is being conducted via our Zoom conferencing, Tuesday the 27th of July 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, for the general public out watching, under clause 24 of the governance rules provides the following: that this meeting is being recorded to improve access to the meeting for our community. This recording will be published and will be retained by council in accordance with council's legal obligations. And as a visitor in the gallery or in the frame there via YouTube, your presence may be recorded. The same thing with public question time at the end of our meeting here. Your name will be recorded on the questions in which you were answered. I will state that if our live streaming at any time stops via YouTube, we will stop our meeting and wait for the meeting to be re-hooked to YouTube so the public can watch. Acknowledgement of traditional owners. I'd like to acknowledge our traditional owners on the land in which we're meeting, repay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to all elders in the communities that may be here with us today. I make especially a mention to the Bangarang people on which the land in which we are sitting and having our meetings. Would we like to stand for the opening prayer? I will sort of stand and move my screen at the same time. Almighty God, we humbly ask thee to bless and guide this council in its deliberations so that we may truly preserve the welfare of the people on whom we serve. Amen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a fairly quick meeting, so we'll get through it quickly so we can get back to our dinners and our families tonight. I'd firstly like to move on to that there are no apologies or granting of leave of absence, and that's mainly due because we can't go anywhere during these COVID times. There's no citizenship ceremony, but I'll quickly go on to item number 7 in the order of business and confirm the minutes of our previous meeting. Councillor Fuller. Councillor Fuller, to move the recommendation to accept the minutes. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Fitzpatrick to second that. All those in favour? I'll grant that the minutes are accepted and moved. Thank you very much. Move down to item number 8, which is conflicts of interest. I'd like to now refer to Councillor Harvey Benton.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've got a conflict in 14.1 relating to my association with the Stock Agent Station Agency. Thank you.
Councillor Ben, you happy to leave the room so that you have no sway in this decision?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll ask you again to mention your conflict when it comes to that item. There's no receptions of petitions and no hearing of deputations. I'd like to move to presentation of council reports, and I'd like to refer to Councillor Irene Grant. Thank you, Irene.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, my report today is a result of a number of conversations I've had in my community, and I feel obliged to express not only my concerns, but the concerns of many of the community with whom I've had these discussions. I, as I said, like many people in our community, have reached a point of real anxiety and frustration as we go through yet another lockdown and series of restrictions. It's reasonable to ask, when will all of this end? And where is the light at the end of the tunnel? Families are separated, children are missing out on education and socialisation through sport and other activities, older people isolated and lonely, businesses on the brink of closing down, people not able to plan for what might happen next week, never mind making plans for the long term. Who would have imagined that over 18 months since COVID-19 was detected in Australia, that we would still be taking a reactive approach to how we deal with the virus, lurching from one lockdown to another lockdown, wandering around with our face masks on and social distancing, everyone fearful of breaking COVID laws, so afraid of each other that we aren't actually living a life. I am most disappointed to see that we don't have a coherent or positive plan for how we as a community, as a country, will move forward to some kind of normality and actually live with this virus. Where's the strategy for the future? Where is our positive strategy for living with the virus that would allow for a level of vaccination as well as protecting those who are vulnerable? I remember asking a senior bureaucrat in the early days of the pandemic, what was the plan to live with COVID, I asked. I was told in no uncertain terms that we don't live with COVID, but we die from it. So 18 months later, we still have no idea what our future will look like. And now many people are expressing their lack of hope for the future. I have had people say to me, this may never end. I am talking to people who have not been able to say a final goodbye to loved ones, people who are sick and alone with no visitors allowed, people who have had to plan weddings or important family occasions only to cancel at the last moment, funerals conducted without the whole family able to attend. We are being separated in a way that is not just undermining our economic well-being, but also the fabric of our social, physical and mental well-being. The current situation with lockdown, instead of protecting the vulnerable in our community, is actually creating vulnerable people in our community with the continuing isolation and restrictions. And what makes the constant lockdowns worse is that there hasn't been a case or a death in the rural city of Wangaratta. I would urge the state and federal governments to put the emphasis on vaccinations, work cooperatively and behave like Australia is one country. Open up our borders and start to live with COVID, because I fear that we're all slowly dying because of the restrictions and what is happening around us. So it's my plea to state and federal government to think about communities and the impact of not knowing what our future will be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Benton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to make sure that a minute of that Councillor Grant's report be minuted into the agenda or into the minutes. In saying that, I don't know whether I'm speaking out of turn, but I'll take your direction because there's no seconder to the motion at the moment.
I've got a seconder with Councillor Fuller, so continue.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to 100% support the words that have been put together by Councillor Grant. I think it's gone far past midnight that we've got to have some line drawn in the sand to give the community and people's ability to have some confidence in the future that we're going to live with this thing. We've lived with anthrax, we live with influenza, and we live with pneumonia, and we lived with AIDS. And I can't see why we just can't have some sort of a line in the sand to give people confidence to know that there is going to be an end to all this, I'm saying immature leadership at the moment in relationship to how we are actually handling it. So the challenge will be for the representatives to make sure that the leadership does come out and give us some sort of hope at the end of the day that we are going to come and live with it and get back to our normality. Yes, we may all have to have vaccination, but we're still going to get COVID. So the ideology of just counting numbers all the time, I think, has got to cease. And I think they've got to start to have a little bit of maturity about themselves to be able to do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Thanks for making that a recommendation. Thanks for seconding that, Councillor Fuller. Any other councillor like to talk? Nope. I'll put the Councillor Herry.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. Absolutely, I think the word vaccination has come out here, and that is a clear goal that I think we can strive towards, and many people are working very hard to get there. Unfortunately, there has been a significant delay, and we haven't quite reached the level of vaccination that was initially identified in earlier forecasts in this country. But I definitely would just encourage everybody to speak to their GPs and have a real discussion about what vaccination is going to be, right? And really put the risks in perspective and get some accurate information. So I think that's something we can definitely work towards as a really clear goal.
Thank you, Councillor Herry. If there's no further councillor like to speak, Councillor Benton, would you like to say anything further as the mover of the recommendation?
No, I think all has been said that I would like to say, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour of the recommendation? The recommendation is carried. It will be noted as part of the minutes. Thank you very much, Councillor Grant. We'll move on to 14.1, which is the Wangaratta Livestock Exchange. Councillor Benton.
Yes, I will declare a conflict of interest as I've aforementioned in relationship to my association with the stock and station firm.
Thank you. Would you please leave the room?
Yes.
Okay. Just point out that Councillor Benton is at the council chambers, and it will be led out by one of our team to make sure that he is out of the room, of which he is now. And I'll hand over to Director Sarah Brindley, Director of Corporate Services. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. So this recommendation is to seek the use of the Common Seal and allow the CEO and Mayor to sign a deed of variation to the Wangaratta Livestock Exchange Management Services Agreement. The Wangaratta Livestock Exchange, the WLE, is a subsidiary of council. It's managed by a board under a management services agreement, and in that agreement it's required that every other year we review the calculation of the payment or dividends that the board returns to council. So this is just part of that standard review that has to occur every other year. There is one minor proposal that we reduce the total cash balance that the WLE can hold from $500,000 to $400,000, and no other changes to the calculation of the payment. And the recommendation is up there on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Just take that down off the screen now. Thank you. Can I have someone to move the recommendation? Councillor David Fuller, and someone to second that, please. Councillor Irene Grant. Councillor Fuller, would you like to talk on the recommendation?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Would any other councillor like to talk on the recommendation? No. If that's the case, I'd just like to talk on it quickly. I've been involved with this, with the Livestock Exchange, and watching as the Mayor, them coming to meet with us on a regular basis, led by John Maraka, and there with Justin Keane on numerous occasions. And I see the Livestock Exchange going from strength to strength in this organisation, and certainly taking the control away from council, which has been a good thing to run it as a business. It's making money. It's looking better down there all the time, and it's growing and growing. So my support to John Maraka there at the head of the board, and fully support this recommendation moving forward. So thanks to everybody down there at the Livestock Exchange. They do a great job and support our community. I'll go back to Councillor Fuller as the mover. Would you, are you happy still not to say anything there? Councillor Fuller's moving. Rightio. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? I see the recommendation is carried. And could we call on Councillor Benton to come forward and back into the room? Thank you. Welcome back, Councillor Benton. We'll now move on to item number 15.1. I'll take it over to Director Marcus Gooner on our Road Management Plan 2021 to 2025. Thank you, Director Goonan.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. This report is presented to Council to endorse the draft Road Management Plan for public exhibition for a period of 28 days. The Road Management Plan sets out Council's operational maintenance requirements, including service levels, inspection frequencies and response timeframes, and it is a requirement under the Road Management Act 2004. The officers recommend that if any submissions are received, they are reviewed and a further report be presented to the September council meeting for adoption. If no submissions are received, we request that the adoption of the RMP without further resolution.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Can I have someone move the recommendation, please? Councillor Grant, Irene Grant, and a seconder, Councillor Benton. Thank you, Councillor Benton. Would anybody like to talk? Sorry, Councillor Grant, would you like to talk on the recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, all I want to say tonight is to ask everyone to input into the road management plan. It's always the case that a municipality is very much judged by the condition of its roads. And, you know, we'd certainly like to get feedback from people. And it's an opportunity for council also to have a conversation with the community around roads and what that means and the whole maintenance program. So I'm happy to move it and certainly encourage people to provide input into the plan.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Any other councillor to talk on the recommendation? Councillor Herry, please.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. Yeah, I definitely support Councillor Grant's comments and encourage everyone to have a look at this document. Roads are often touted as one of the cornerstones of council's remit. They definitely are an important thing that we all use every day. I'd like to highlight as well that this plan considers paths, footpaths, bike paths, all of those sorts of infrastructure as well. And maybe just encourage people to possibly, if they're unsure of what the classification of various roads happen to be, they might like to take a look at the road register, which is available on the Rural City of Wangaratta website. So you can maybe go and have a look at that, look up the roads of interest to you, and then get their classification and then come back to this document, the road management plan, and just get an idea of how that's going to be maintained and the level of service that asset will be kept to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herry. There's no further councillors to talk on this recommendation. Councillor Grant, back to you to finalise if you'd like, or are you happy to keep going? No, you're happy to keep going. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation going out? The recommendation is carried. Thank you very much, Marcus Goonan, Director Goonan. Director Goonan, 15.2, RJ Barry Fountain update and report.
Thank you again, Mayor Rees. This report is presented to Council to consider approving works associated with repairing the RJ Barry Fountain located at Ovens and Reed Street roundabout. The RJ Barry Fountain commemorates the late Richard Jack Barry, manager of North East Co-op store for 30 years and a respected community member. Council officers have reviewed the work that are required to complete the fountain and restore it to its original state, and it's estimated to be around about $15,000. There was no budget allocated for this work in the 21-22 budget, but funds will be allocated through the budget variation policy during the monthly financial report. Recommendation is that Council endorse the works associated with repairing the fountain.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Can I have someone move the recommendation, please? Councillor Harry Bussell, and a seconder, please, Councillor Harvey Benton. Councillor Bussell, would you like to talk on the recommendation?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's with some regret that the fountain's been left idle for many, many years, and I think it's going to be an asset to the look of Wangaratta around that area there. So, you know, I'm very pleased to see that there's a bit of movement now. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bussell. Anybody else like to talk on the recommendation? No, I'd like to talk on it then. I've, in the past, Director Goon and myself have met with Mrs. Barry, and excited to see something happen. As a previous council law in the previous council, along with Councillor Benton, Fitzpatrick, Fuller and Bussell, we all look forward to that happened. It slipped through a few cracks here and there, but we're back on track, and that's the main thing I feel. If this is accepted tonight, I'd urge all my councillors to vote to get this happening, get things happening in that area that we've spent a lot of money on over the time in beautifying our city, and this is only going to add to that. And it's a bit of a landmark situation for Wangaratta. It'd be good to see it back and operate again. So thank you. Councillor Bustle, you happy to end off with that? Yes. I'll
No problems.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour of accepting the recommendation, moving on. Hands up. Thank you very much. The recommendation is carried. Thank you, Director Goonan. Getting down to the end of our council meeting now, and we'll go to item number, I think, 19. Brendan McGrath is record of advisory committee reports.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. Item 19.1 calls on council to note minutes of advisory committees which occurred in May and June for our Economic Development and Tourism Committee and our Sport and Rec Advisory Committee. And those minutes are attached to the reports for your reading.
Thank you. Can I have someone move the recommendation to those reports? Councillor Fitzpatrick, and a seconder, Councillor Jack Herry. Thanks, Jack. Any councillor like to talk on the recommendation of 19.1, the record of advisory committee reports? No. Okay, I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming down to, there's no notice of motion, urgent business, but there is some public question time, and there are 3 questions that I will go and ask some directors for some direct answers. I'll firstly go to be handed. This is a question from Simon, and it's a public question from Simon Hunter from Vic Police. And I'll just read the question. It'll be a little bit lengthy, so please bear with me on this one. Good afternoon, Wangaratta councillors. I've previously sent this email to Mayor Rees, and the council meeting is approaching. Would like the following for your consideration. I am writing to you to request your time to look into an issue that has arisen due to the change over the Wangaratta Sports and Aquatic Centre from the YMCA management to Wangaratta Council. You are probably not aware, however, Victorian police members and other non-for-profit agencies can obtain membership through Fitness Passport, which is an organisation that outsources their subscriptions to local gyms and centres for their members to use. The scheme also allows for members, partners to use memberships for additional fees. Whilst run by the YMCA for the last few years, Fitness Passport members were able to use the full facility of the centre, including participating in group classes. Within the 24-hour gym access was developed. Fitness Passport members did not get the benefit, which was understandably considering that they explained that there were different security measures and access cards required. Upon the centre changing management, the Wangaratta Council have now also restricted Fitness Passport members from utilising the group sessions. Whilst I understand there may need to be some extra benefits for WISAC members, such as the 24-hour access, restricted the access for Fitness Passport members to the group sessions, I believe is an added measure not needed and actually penalise these members of the community who want to access these sessions. The majority of Fitness Passport members would be frontline workers such as police and their families. These members are a big part of the Wangaratta community and provide service to all members of the community. Speaking from a police perspective, it is well accepted that physical fitness and health plays a large part in combating the stresses members face. In my view, it would be fantastic if the current restrictions are reviewed and the consideration given to allow Fitness Passport members to attend group sessions to exercise. Not everyone wants or is able to use the gymnasium, and other programs such as the spin classes and low impact workouts are valuable for persons that may not have the capacity or the ability to use the gymnasium. It may also be a consideration that full WISAC members receive priority, and if a class is fully booked, then Fitness Passport members are second in line. This would allow the full membership access and Fitness Passport members access when classes are not full, which does not impact and wage costs for instructors as the sessions are running anyway. I believe that something so little as changing back to what was previously offered by the YMCA would be a great sign of good faith and support for our emergency workers from the Wangaratta Council. It may also have the added benefit of attracting more members back to the facility and may have left, especially during these COVID restrictions. Kind regards, Simon. I'd like to hand over to Director Jamie Chubb for a reply.
Wonderful, thank you. So, first of all, thank you to Simon for the question and for being a member of the Sports and Aquatic Centre. And I would like to start off by saying that we, of course, value the opportunity that we have to provide all members of our community with the chance to be healthy and participate in physical activity. That's certainly our objective in operating and managing this facility. So it's our objective that we get as many people there as possible participating in a whole range of different activities. So the Fitness Passport program does offer, in some cases, quite significantly subsidised membership to people through their employment base. So we're committed to offering access to the centre within the hours of operation, and that includes access to the gym and to the pool, including the new aquatic facilities that have just been finished by council. So there are significantly more facilities available to all members now than what was there when the YMCA was operating it. We do acknowledge that there has been a change and that Fitness Passport members are not able to access fitness classes, and that is reflective of the fact that they do pay a significantly reduced membership fee through the Fitness Passport program. We are looking, however, to try to make sure that we can still get the people who would like to participate in classes there, with the opportunity of some subsidised class fees and making sure that there's still the opportunity for them to participate in a way that works for them if they would like to. So that is something that we have taken on board. And we're looking at setting up an option that would enable them to participate in classes if they would like. And for those that continue to just access the aquatic facilities in the gym, then they can do so at the subsidised rate that they currently participate in through Fitness Passport. So thank you for the question and the feedback, and we're going to take it on board and have a look at what we can do. So.
Thank you, Director Chubb, for your reply. Sorry. Second question is from the Moyu Recreation Reserve, and the chairman of Kevin Newton and Deanne Burge is the chairperson of the Moyu Action Group, and also obviously Kevin Newton, the chairperson of the Moyu Recreation Reserve Committee. So a joint letter here. I'll read the main objectives and then just a small amount of the supporting document and the question behind this. So the letter is addressed to the rural city of Wangaratta for the upgrade of Bartley Street and Glenroe Moyu Road. The objective of the outcome is to upgrade the Bartley Street and Glenroe Moyu Road from Sawmill Lane, which is the start of the 60km/h sign, all the way through to Burn Street intersection. And they've got a lot of supporting document from the Moyu Recreation Reserve Committee of Management. And for example, the Moyu Recreation Reserve has highlighted this project within their master plan of 2021 to 2025. And the Moyu Action Group Town Survey, the Recreation Reserve was identified as, quote, support for the development of a plan to maximise the community use of the Moyu Recreation Reserve to 63.8%. The main question here is that the Moyu Recreation Reserve Committee of Management and Moyu Action Group request that this letter is tabled at the next council formal meeting of the rural city of Wangaratta, which is today, then a motion to be put forward that the request be added to the budget planning consideration for 2021-2022 financial years as an ongoing project until it is completed. So I gather from that, and I'll ask for Marcus for a reply, that they're not asking for all of it to be done at once, that it could be done over small sections, but to start it in 2021-22 and as an ongoing thing until completion for however long that takes. Thank you, Marcus Goonan.
Thank you, Mr. Rees, and thank you for the question. So, as I think everyone would be aware, the 21-22 budget was adopted at a previous council meeting, and there was no money allocated to this project for this financial year. In the letter, it talks about a planning permit for a 9-lot subdivision. As part of that planning permit, traffic concerns were taken into consideration during the issue of the planning permit. and this includes a minor widening of the entry road off Bartley Street. At this stage, there is no future plans of upgrading Bartley Street, although a future township development plan may identify further extensions and changes to the road network. Depending on those outcomes, this plan could change. There's also mention of some drainage concerns, particularly within some of the side streets there, and the drainage concerns have been issued to our field services crew to rectify.
Thank you, Director Goonan, for that reply. And our third and final public question is from Kerry and Keith Marsden. To the current staff of the Wangaratta Tourist Information Centre, they do a great job promoting our wonderful city and surrounds to tourists and locals alike. They now operate in a difficult space. It would be advantageous to have a top-class purpose-built venue for them to operate from. We have visited many tourist information centres throughout Australia and around the world. The best ones have these things in common: easy to find, well signposted, and close to or on main roads entering or leaving a city. Room to display and sell produce from around the area, knowledge and helpful staff, in brackets, which we already have. Plenty of parking space for caravans, motorhome, cars, etc. Playgrounds for children to let off steam, dump points, outdoor tables and chairs, a room to show films and videos promoting the area, a cafe or provisions for coffee and tea making. The new Marina Park development has the potential to meet all of these needs. A coffee shop would be great in this area too. The inner city areas as suggested by council are not suitable for a high-class venue with all its needs, particularly long vehicle parking. Vehicles need to be able to park at the Tourist Information Centre. It is not feasible for them to park elsewhere, example caravan parks, if they are just travelling through our town. Maybe council could take an opportunity to survey the ratepayers about the decision. Yours sincerely, Kerry and Keith Marsden. Thank you for your question, Kerry and Keith. I'll now hand over to Director Swartz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to thank Kerry and Keith for their question and also for their positive comments about our staff and volunteers at our Visit Information Centre. The Visitor Services Strategy, which Council adopted at a previous meeting, was about looking into the future and how to best service the changing needs of our visitors in our municipality. Knowledgeable and helpful staff will remain a large part of this into the future. Council has previously assessed the potential of locating the Visitor Information Centre at Marina Park as part of the Marina Park Master Plan development. It was not considered viable in the adopted Master Plan. The Master Plan does talk about having a Visitor Information Board and wayfinding to the CBD and other areas of interest, and will continue to have a dump point located there along with parking. Locating the Visit Information Centre in a council building within the Arts and Cultural Precinct, as recommended in the Visitor Services Strategy, provides an opportunity to remain in a central and easy accessible location, support other services like the gallery, while at the same time providing opportunities for local businesses to cater to the needs of visitors directly, and still be a great starting point for town walking tours. Further planning work will be undertaken to confirm the exact location and what form the new Visitor Information Centre will take, including parking required, such as long vehicle parking and signage to assist visitors to navigate the CBD and access suitable parking and other significant points of interest. Separately, with the development of the Ned Kelly Glenrowan project, we will also see another area where we can service visitors and direct them to locations within our region of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Swartz, for that one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now come to the end of our meeting. So I would like to thank everybody for attending, all councillors for attending. Can I please ask all councillors and corporate management team to stay online after we sign off on YouTube for a further discussion. But ladies and gentlemen, have a good evening, enjoy the month, and we look forward to getting out of lockdown tomorrow and hopefully getting back to a bit of normality. And I urge, if you can, please get vaccinated and help our community back on the road to